Welcome to the House Therapy, the podcast that helps you to create a home that you love to live in. I'm Nina Dwaron, owner and lead designer at ISO Design and Interiors. And each week, we're going to explore practical ways to help bring more beauty, function, and flow into your space. From design and staging to organizing, downsizing, and everything in between. If you want a home that truly supports your life and your family, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Hi, welcome back to the House Therapy Podcast. In this episode, we are going to identify the 5 key rooms that will mostly influence the sale of a home, okay? I am going to be sharing with you what buyers are looking for, what they expect, what are the must-do that you have to do for staging, and why do these rooms really matter more than others? And what are some of the ways that you can do to make that lasting first impression for potential buyers? All right, so let's get started. Room number one. Room number one is the entryway, the foyer, but honestly, I think that it even starts on the outside at the front entrance, okay? Because we are talking about first impression, all right? That means that, when potential buyers drive up to your driveway, the curb matters. Because again, it's a first impression. And it's very indicative when the outside looks good, then the likelihood that the inside is also going to look good. But if you don't tend to your yard and look at the curb appeal, then buyers will get that sense that if they're not taking care of the outside the house, what's the likelihood that they're going to take care of the inside the house, right? So for me, I say that the first impression really matters at the curbside, and then of course, as soon as the buyers step through the front door, okay? So this is why when I go and do a consultation, I always look at the outside. I look at the front door because paint does age, and the sun and the changes in temperature really affects the paint of the front door. So if it's really dull, if the paint has faded over time, then it requires you to repaint the front door. And let's say if the door knob is stuck or sticky and it's not working well, you have to fix that. Either you get it repaired or you replace the front door hardware so that access into the house is nice and easy and smooth, okay? However, when the buyers get inside the house and are standing at the front foyer, this is their first impression of how the home is going to welcome them. So you need to focus on this area and make sure that it shows as well as possible and it is as welcoming as possible. What does that mean? It means no clutter, means no shoes in the front foyer. Often I see like a shoe rack in the foyer because it's easier to come in, put your shoes there as opposed to putting into the hall closet, right? And then even though there's a hall closet, coats, there are hooks on the wall, people are hanging their outerwear there, purses and handbags there, or even worse, like a coat rack. It is so messy and so untidy, okay? So make sure that the foyer is absolutely as tidy as possible. Use your hall closet and put all of that stuff away and remove all the unsightly clutter, all right? Having said that though, that doesn't mean that you should be cluttering up the hall closet either. I do recommend that you declutter half of what's in the hall closet because again, the hall closet is often a catch-all for all seasons, right? We have summer gear in there, we have winter gear in there, but when you are selling, just change out or pack away the seasons because you're not going to be needing it for a while. So we are heading into the spring market right now. The weather is finally warming up, thank goodness. So pack away all the winter gear so that, you're decluttering the closet a little bit and make it look like there's plenty of storage space, okay? But first and foremost, make sure that, the foyer itself is neat and tidy. Also, because of the winter months and the muddy and wet spring months, people tend to use those, unsightly black utility mats in the front foyer. I would say change that out, okay? Put something nicer, put something welcoming, putting something nice and bright and even springy. There are lots of options these days for washable mats, washable doormats and washable area rugs. Put something that's really nice in there. And if it does get dirty, they're washables. Just throw them in the wash. And it's not a really large area rug, so it can easily fit into your washing machine. I would say that if you have a single door, invest in something that's at least 4 by 6 inside. You might have to turn it so that it's more like on the lengthwise as opposed to widthwise. But if you have a double entrance door, then I would say get something that would widthwise would fit across both doors, okay? And in terms of the front foyer, most people have a hall table there. Style the hall table tastefully. Put a nice fresh plant on there, have some sort of a welcoming message there, a nice piece of artwork. And if your foyer is a little bit dark, consider adding a hall table lamp as well, okay, to brighten it up. So now we're talking about lighting. Now every foyer has a light fixture because when you come in, especially in the winter months, it can be pretty dark, right? So make sure that your foyer light fixture works beautifully, that you are using the proper light bulbs so that it's nice and bright, at the same time warm as well. So I recommend that you steer away from the 5,000K LED bulbs. Those are just way too bright. Like they're daylight bulbs and they're typically used for commercial spaces as opposed to residential spaces. So avoid those super bright light and instead maybe the best light color I recommend is the 3,000K LED bulb. Okay, they're a nice warmer light tone. Also, if you have never changed your light fixture, then I recommend the first one to change is the foyer light, okay? Because light fixtures can really date a home, all right? If you still have that, that old square disc light or that old boob light, let's say, change it out and get something a little bit nicer for that space. Get something that has at least 2 bulbs or 3 bulbs because again, we want to highlight and lighten up that space, okay? Because again, first impression really does matter. And light fixtures are so inexpensive these days. You can buy a really nice hall light for about $100 to $150. Not a huge investment when you're considering the price that you're asking for your home, all right? So that's the first key room that I would recommend. The second room that you need to focus and pay attention to is the kitchen, all right? Why? The kitchen is often referred to as the heart of a home. So no matter how big the house is, no matter how many key principal living rooms there are on the main floor, the kitchen is where everyone gathers. When you're entertaining, if you just paid close attention, that's where all your guests are, right? And so they're hanging out, they're having drinks, nibbles while you're cooking and preparing the meal. This is where everybody wants to hang out. So the kitchen matters a lot. Not only that, the kitchen is always the most expensive space to remodel, okay? Because of that, you want to make the kitchen as appealing as possible. So how do you do that? First, you have to declutter. This means that if you are cluttering up your countertops with all sorts of small appliances and kitchen tools and whatever else that you might have stored on the kitchen counter, now is the time to put it away, okay? One of the biggest things that people find a little bit challenging when I come through to do the consultation is I ask them to remove the microwave and their coffee maker, all right? Because they'll tell me, I use the microwave every day. I use my coffee maker every day. So, the whole idea is to declutter your cupboards as well, because you don't use every item in your kitchen cupboards every day. I know this for a fact. So therefore, whatever you don't use on a regular basis, you're going to have to pack it up when you move anyway. So pack it up now. And then make room for your microwave in the lower cabinets. And maybe it'll even fit your coffee maker as well. So on a day-to-day basis, if you don't have the showing then, you can just pull it out, use it. And then when you have showings, now you have the space to tuck it away underneath the cupboards, okay? So that way you're showing off the kitchen, you're showing off the countertops and the work surfaces because people are always looking for additional work surfaces. One of the things that people always complain about in a kitchen is that there's not enough work surface. So if you clutter up with way too much stuff, people are going to say that there's not enough work surface, right? And B, when you have that much stuff on there, all they can focus on is looking at your stuff and not the full kitchen or the beautiful kitchen that is there as well. So make sure that that gets tidied up. And then I get questions like, do people really open kitchen cupboards? And the answer is absolutely. Why? Because they are looking at the storage, okay? So by decluttering the kitchen cupboards, you're making it appear as though there's tons of storage in the kitchen. And they will open up the cupboard. So you don't want anything to fall out on them. And if it's stuffed and bursting at the seams, then people are the impression that you're leaving with them is that there's clearly not enough storage in the kitchen. And that is going to be a big deal because the honest truth is that we all have way too much stuff and kitchen tools take up a lot of space, okay? So try and tidy that up. Now, the other thing that you should do is make sure that all the kitchen cupboards can close properly, that all the hinges are working properly, the cupboard doors are all in alignment, right? There's not one door that's lower or higher than the other. So those types of things are just minor little tweaks. If you're not handy, hire a handyman and have them come in and make those tiny adjustments so that the doors fit properly. If the hardware is really old or it's broken, half falling off, it's probably time to replace the kitchen hardware. And you can get really nice kitchen hardware at places even like IKEA. They sell them in these packages. They don't cost a lot of money, but they can make a world of difference to the way that your kitchen looks and is presented, all right? Now, the other thing are appliances, all right? Make sure appliances are spotless inside and out, because again, you typically sell the house with the appliances included, and people want to know that they're getting good condition appliances, okay? So to do this, make sure you get it clean and polished. No grease on the range hood, no fingerprints on the refrigerator, and all stove elements are working. If there are, stains or cooking rings on the electric flat stove top, make sure you get that cleaned off, okay, so that it's shining like it's brand new, all right? And inside the oven too, inside the dishwasher, make sure all of that is just spotless. Now, one of the things I often ask clients to do is to remove the trash can from the kitchen as well, because who wants to look at a trash can? It's so unsightly. So make sure that you have that removed and just have them something smaller for the time being under the sink, okay, under the cabinet that's under the sink. It might mean you might have to take more trips to throw them out in the garage, but it'll look so much better without that big metal box in the kitchen. Talking about big metal boxes, that includes the water coolers as well. Again, it just doesn't add appeal to the space. I would say that anything that doesn't look appealing should be removed from the space, okay? Now, the other thing in the kitchen too is that if you are still using or have builder grade faucets in there, now is the time to to change it out, okay? Because they are so old and they are so dated, and it just makes the kitchen dated. It just screams it. So I would recommend that you remove that and change it up. You can get beautiful faucets at Costco for just a little over $100. You know, treat yourself to a new faucet, okay? But if the faucet has been leaky or it's wonky, like it's loose, make sure you replace it, okay? It's important that you do that, and just get something that's brand new. It'll add so much to the kitchen, just like the hardware, I promise you, all right? The other thing too is lighting in the kitchen. Now, the kitchen lighting, just, you know, I see many homes with either very dated lighting or track lighting. Track lighting are very spotty, like it only highlights certain areas where you have the bulb focused on, and they provide very limited lighting, but spotty lighting, all right? So I would just change it out to a nice new fixture with, 2 to 3 bulbs in there, so that it'll provide lots of lighting into the room without all that spotty light, all right? So that is kind of the kitchen area. I went a little bit long on the kitchen because it is such an important space in a home, okay? So I hope that helped. All right, room number 3. Room number 3 is the living room and the family room. I'm going to combine those 2 rooms together, okay? Because this is the entertaining space, right? This is the gathering space. This is where you spend a lot of time with your family and your friends. This is where you watch television, play games, connect, right? So do not clutter up the living room with a lot of big, heavy, overstuffed furniture, all right? Because it will make the room feel so much smaller. I know that, the way people live is not the way that people sell, all right? When we live in our own home and if we entertain a lot, then we want to make sure everybody has a seat, right? So therefore, we buy all this furniture to make sure that everyone will have a seat. But instead, all that does is clutter up the room. You want a couch, you want 2 accent chairs, maybe in the family room you have a sectional and an accent chair, but then you want to have the accent tables as well to complete the look of the room, okay? But, removing some of the overstuffed, oversized furniture is going to make the space feel a lot more spacious. The other thing I also want to highlight too is that, the way that you position furniture in these 2 spaces, the living room and the family room, they need to be conversational type of seating. It doesn't mean that all furniture should be facing the television only, or all the furniture needs to be like hugging a wall. That is a no-no. You don't need to do that. Set up the furniture so that it promotes gathering and conversation. Okay, so what that means that, the couch and the chairs should try and face each other. And for symmetry perspective, I always like to have at least 2 end tables flanking on each side of the couch as well. Why do I want to do this? A, it does add symmetry to the room. And B, you can add lighting, like lamps, onto these end tables. That will give more light to the space. And if you've watched any of my previous episodes, you'll know that lighting matters in a room. The more light there is in a room, the more spacious the room is going to feel, okay? And always add a nice large piece of artwork over the couch, okay? Nothing small, because scale does matter. And that is where the designers come in, and helping you to understand scale. Like if you have a really large overstuffed couch and a tiny little piece of artwork over the couch, it's gonna throw the balance of the room off. And especially when the photographer comes in to take photos, and they take it in, wide angle, using a wide angle camera with high definition. On the photo, the artwork is going to look like a postage stamp, and the couch is going to look way too big, and it throws off the balance of the room. For somebody who doesn't understand scale, they might not know why the room feels off, but they feel it in their gut that the room is off, okay? So having scale is important. That means having the right size couch, the right size lamp, the right size coffee table, the right size end tables, and the right size artwork as well, okay? And the other thing is to have a nice rug, and the rug size matters. Most people tend to buy rugs that are way too small for the room. My thinking is that likely it has to do with the price, because the larger rugs do cost a lot more money, because again, the standard size rugs are typically 5x7, but for a living room and a family room, which tend to be the larger rooms, you need a bigger rug, like at least an 8x10. And if the room is really large, you need at least like a 9x12 or something like that. All right. So and the rug should sit underneath the couch and sit underneath at least the front leg of the accent chairs as well. Again, we're trying to create a conversation style seating, and the rug will anchor the space and define the room. Especially when you have like a living room and a dining room combo, a rug can help to define those two different spaces, okay? Now, room number 4. Room number 4 is the primary bedroom. Now, if you've watched or listened to one of my previous episodes, I did touch on this room a little bit, and why the primary bedroom or the primary suite is so important when it comes to the house, because the primary suite is the sanctuary for the homeowner, right? Especially if you have a busy family with kids, and you're helping them with homework, making dinner, rushing home from work, a busy day at work. At the end of the day, you just need to relax, and you just need to go into your own private space. And this is why we always style a room, the primary suite, impeccably. We use luxurious bedding. We style it with lots of luxurious cushions and throws and things like that, because we want buyers to come in and say, wow, this is my space. This can be my space. I can't wait to sink into that bed or that bedroom. And this is how, I'm going to feel when I walk into my bedroom. These are the things that we want them to feel and focus on and memorize when they go and visit another house, right? And honestly, when the primary bedroom is not styled properly, it can be a real downer. People will come in saying, wah, wah, it's kind of boring. It's not very impressing, right? And so you want the primary suite to look at as best as it can be. Again, this will mean you need to have a room for 2 side tables, bedside tables with 2 nice sized lamps. And then if you don't have a headboard, then use a very large piece of artwork that can mimic a headboard. But even if you have a headboard, you want to put some sort of artwork above the headboard as well, because that will help to draw the eyes up, okay? Because bedroom furniture tends to bring the eyes down, right? Because it's low, and it doesn't help to accentuate the height of the ceiling. And if you have really nice ceiling heights or really nice accent ceilings, you want to be able to help to draw the buyer's eyes up, right? And artwork and scale of lamps and furniture can absolutely help to do that, all right? And the other thing too is a rug. Bedroom, these days, people want wood floors, right? Throughout the house. It's easier to maintain, it's easier to clean, it avoids allergens and whatnot. But, in the morning, it can be cold on the feet. And again, a nice rug will help to anchor the room and add some warmth and some additional texture to the space as well, okay? So where possible, I would say that the rug should sit at least halfway across the bed, right? But however, if you're looking at a luxury space, a luxury home, the bed should be large enough to sit completely under the bed, and obviously have room when you wake up in the morning, step off, be able to step onto the rug as well. Okay, so the primary bedroom, including the primary suite, ensuite that is very important to style, because again, this is where the parents escape to at the end of the busy day, and you want them as enticing as possible. You just want them to, when people walk into a bedroom, when my clients walk into a bedroom after we've staged it, what we often hear is that sigh of calm and relief, right? And that's what you want buyers to do when they walk into the bedroom. So pay close attention to the primary ensuite, okay? Or primary suite, not just the ensuite. Okay, so room number 5 are bathrooms, all right? Bathrooms are very important, not just the ensuite, all right? Bathrooms are icky places. They're, not always the prettiest space. Like, people go in there to do their business, right? So you want to make it as clean as possible, spotless, shining. It smells good in there, right? So this is where you do need to declutter. And I always say to my clients when I do the consult is that in the bathrooms, if it's not fixed to the floor, it should not be there. What does that mean? It means remove the toilet plunger, remove the toilet brush, remove the trash can, and whatever else that's on the floor, and including bath mats. Bath mats are icky, right? So just fold them up, put them inside the vanity cabinet, and then pull them out when you need it. And the other things too, put it into the linen closet or a different closet, and when you need it, just pull it out. It does require a little bit of sacrifice when your house is on the market, but you are again trying to attract buyers. You want them, when they come to the house, no matter what room they're looking at, that they're looking at the space, they're looking at the house, and not the icky stuff, okay? That means removing, you're clearing out the counter, maybe add a plant, maybe add a nice clean white towel or a light colored towel to the vanity to style it. But that's it. No toothbrushes, no half bars of soap or nothing like that in the bathroom, all right? And I always recommend you use light colored towels in the bathroom. Why is that? Because it gives that feeling of freshness, okay, of cleanliness in the bathroom. And it gives off that hotel-like feeling, that spa-like feeling. When you use black towels or brown towels, it just, first of all, it draws the eyes there, because we are, naturally we are drawn to things that are dark and heavy looking, right? So we don't want that. We want them to see the beautiful bathroom, the beautiful tiles and things like that. So just draw that attention away. And especially if your bathrooms are dark, using light colored artwork, decor, and towels will lighten up that space as well, okay? So that's very, very important. And if you have children's toys in the bathroom, toiletries, again, just tuck that away in the cabinets. And so to allow people to actually see the space for what it could be. Now, if you have a shower door, a glass shower door, make sure it's spotless, no water spots at all, okay? Make sure it's nice and clean. All the hardware is nice and clean. There's no lime buildup. If it's really old, if it's really dated, if it's still builder grade, change that out. Get something a little bit nicer, get something new and fresh, all right? What else did I want to say about that? Oh, yes, the vent, okay? The bathroom vent is notorious to be dirty. Most people don't look up, right? You could have lived in the house for years and years and years and never even looked at the vent and never cleaned the vent. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen vents that are pretty icky. first of all, there's a lot of moisture in the bathroom. And so what it does is it sucks up all the dust, and then it clings onto the vent. So if you don't clean it, it'll just build up and it'll look very fuzzy and yucky. So make sure you clean the vent. It's very easy to do. Just remove it, run some water, use a brush, clean it up, or if it's pretty dry in there, just take a vacuum to it and it'll make all the difference in the world, okay? So bathrooms are not the nicest space always, but there are some very beautiful bathrooms out there. So you want to make that space shine and you don't want to give off that icky feeling, okay? Oh, one more thing I always want to say is that make sure the toilet lid is closed. Nobody needs to look inside the toilet, and you do not want to take a photo with an open toilet lid, okay? Especially if your toilet is a little bit old and there are rings and marks in the toilet. You should probably change that out and get a new toilet. Again, not expensive whatsoever. So get a new toilet or make sure it is spotless. And for showings and for photos, make sure the toilet is closed, okay? So those are the 5 key rooms in the house. Now I do have some final thoughts for you. Like, these rooms don't stand alone. It does require some attention. And buyers will notice all the little details because they want perfection when they're buying the house, right? They want great value for the money that they're going to be spending. So these rooms need to be as impressive as possible, especially like the living room, kitchen, the powder room, foyer, because with open concept spaces, people are going to walk in, they'll be able to scan the whole main floor in one look. So you want all of these spaces to be absolute perfection, okay? Now, you also want a natural or a neutral color palette in all of these spaces because it helps with flow. So some people will invest in repainting the home, especially when it hasn't been painted for a long time, which I applaud them to do that because paint is one of the least expensive ways to refreshen a house, okay? But that doesn't mean that you paint different colors in different rooms. My recommendation is just to paint the entire house the same neutral color palette because it will help to promote flow. Like, every room that buyers walk into doesn't feel choppy or different. It kind of eases that flow from room to room, okay? So that will help a lot. And make sure that, there are clear pathways from one room to the next. What that means is that you don't want to have furniture that will block an entryway or block the flow. This is why we ask you to declutter and remove furniture that does block the flow, okay? And all of these will, by doing all of this and focusing on what the buyer's needs are and want, is going to help you to achieve a more successful sale, a stronger offer, a quicker timeline, right? And so, 2026 is going to be a year that's going to be about the same as 2025, unfortunately, based on economic predictions, is that, there's marginal growth, but we're pretty much going to experience the same as 2025. And so what that means is that we are still going to be in a buyer's market. So you have to do as much as you can if you are a serious seller. Okay, if you're not a serious seller, then you're just, wasting your time, putting, undue stress on your family for no reason. But if you're serious, then follow my advice and do as much as you can to ensure that, you have a quick and successful sale. And so just remember, when it comes to staging and designing to sell, it is not about your personal taste. You have to keep the buyer's needs and desire and wants in mind. And selling a house, it's about the buyer. It is not about you. And staging is a strategic marketing tactic. It is the 2 P's of marketing: packaging and promotion, right? And presentation, I mean. So, that's what staging does. It package your house in a way that's going to appeal to potential buyers. And I promise you, it will make all the difference in the world. Okay, so anyway, if this episode helped you, please follow, like, and share with somebody who needs this advice too. The other thing is, if you are preparing to sell in the coming weeks or months, visit our website at isodesign.ca/forward staging services. And there I have a free downloadable book where it will provide you with a 4-week plan on how to prepare your house and get it ready for the market. Okay, it's absolutely free and you could just download it. You don't need to give me any information or anything like that. It's not about me collecting information. I just want to help you as best as I can to help you get ready for the market. And if you need any further advice from me, book a free call. It's a 15-minute consultation on the phone. And I'm happy to answer any question that you may have, okay? So I hope that if you are selling this spring, good luck to you. And I hope everything works out and you are able to sell for top dollar and as quickly as possible. Until next time, if you take care of your home, it'll take care of you. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to the House Therapy Podcast. If today's episode inspired you, be sure to follow the show and share it with someone who would love it too. For more tips, resources, or to work with me directly, visit isodesign.ca. Until next time, remember, with a little effort, every home can be beautiful and every space can be functional. And remember, you deserve it.